Hey there, this is Jackie of Maiden Voyage, and you're listening to episode 12, season 1, our season 1 finale, where we're going to tackle how to make a comeback when your brand fails.
Maiden Voyage is a podcast recorded by the women of Impulse Creative.
We are CEOs, salespeople, project managers, writers, and marketers. We're also wives, rad moms, remote employees all over the country, in-house staff, empowered single ladies, and all-around ass kickers.
There's a lot of challenges we face, overcome, and share that make our voyage different than those of the men we work with. This is our journey.
All right, so today we're talking with all of the mermaids about brands when they fail, when they look bad, when they get a little bit of mud on their face, but how they've recovered. So we're going to share some really fun examples with you. And we hope that if you're listening and your brand has taken a bit of a stumble, whether it be personally or professionally, that you can take something away today and help you spin it up and recoup all your efforts. Rachel, I know that you've seen Martha Stewart speak before, and she is like the epitome of brand fail comeback. I mean, she's even working with one of the, and I would say Snoop Dogg is a brand fail comeback as well. So the two of them together are like killing it right now. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about like hearing her speak and your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So I remember hearing her speak at Inbound a couple years ago. And I wasn't all that impressed with her speaking abilities, but what she had to say was pretty awesome. She didn't bring up her past, of course. I mean, that's part of, brand damage control. Don't talk about it too much. But she basically acted like nothing happened. She even did her Martha Stewart thing in prison when she was there. She did her ceramics and pottery, and she apparently found a new cleaner, and she cleans the prison while she was there. I mean, it's really funny. But she lost, I read somewhere that she lost like $1 billion, and she's still successful, and she published her 71st book right out of prison. She didn't even like skip a beat. I mean, she wasn't in for very long, but
right, no, and she didn't like kill anybody. So like, let's define that. Let's talk about what your brand pitfall was. If it was murder, we're not going to have advice for you here today. But if it was like fraud or like really bad PR or an incident that happened, I mean, there are things that you can come back from. And I think what Rachel just explained, taking away from like the whole Martha Stewart situation, is that she didn't let it pause her hustle. She kept that hustle going. She made a mistake, but that didn't slow down her being the boss lady. And it was a white collar crime. And I don't think like she didn't really serve, like Rachel said, that much time, but I think it was keeping her hustle strong, which made her successful coming out of the gate.
I read an article recently that said that like now she's selling, I never know what it's called, CBD oil, whatever, the marijuana thing minus the THC.
Right.
Mm-hmm. She's selling it, and because it has her brand on it, like older people are like, oh, well, Martha Stewart, and it's like helping them. So I thought that was cool.
I had a prospect meeting with someone, this is totally off topic, but for like CBD oil, that's what they were selling. And they were telling me that their target market is the 55 and older community because it's great for like arthritic and bad knees and bad backs. And like my 70-year-old aunt is like, I pay the most money for my CBD cream because it helps my knee. So I think that she is, again, capitalizing and taking the opportunity to like empower her business through marketing herself in dynamic ways, like all kinds, like working with Snoop Dogg on a cooking show. I would have never thought that would make sense, but have you seen it? Anyone?
No, but I can only imagine it.
It's hysterical. I've watched it once or twice, and the way that they interact with each other is just like pure gold. It's hysterical.
So that's what I read in the article too, is that Snoop Dogg also sells that oil, and he's like, I'm not even.
That I can see. Martha, I can't see.
And he wasn't threatened by it at all because he's like, it's a total different market that she's like getting, that no one would even look at mine,
No, they don't know who Snoop Dogg is. They're like Martha Stewart living.
They're like, oh.
You're right. Yeah, right. So good for her. Kudos, Martha. I mean, she did some bad stuff, so don't do naughty things just to make a comeback. But when you do, I think the lesson we learned there, like I said, come out of the gate strong.
Well, and she addressed it, but didn't dwell on it.
Apologize or do whatever you need to do and move on.
If anything,
She handled it with grace.
Yeah, if anything, I feel like her brand is stronger now than it was before. At least in my eyes, I do.
Well, and I think that's the other thing. I think because of this, she could have potentially hit a younger generation too, because maybe wasn't like, at the time it happened, I was young enough that I wasn't shopping the Martha Stewart Living collection, but I sure got familiar with who she was and her businesses. And like, I feel like we learned about it in school a little bit. And now my whole life feels like I've known there was a scandal, but you can still get her towels at Macy's.
Right.
And I know who that is. There's that brand recognition even from me, who maybe only got to know her through that scandal.
Yeah, agreed.
Courtney, I think you and I and Jen had the amazing emotional experience at Inbound last year. And in case you guys don't know, Inbound is a marketing conference that happens in Boston every year, and it's held by a company called HubSpot. It's really cool. You should check it out. I have seen Michelle Obama speak, and I wasn't there for Martha, but Michelle Obama was like amazing. And last year we saw one of the keynote speakers that Courtney's going to talk about now is the gentleman who started Charity Water. And like, it was what, guys, like 9 a.m., not even on the last day of the conference. And the three of us were hysterical crying in a room of thousands of people, hysterical crying, listening to this man's comeback story.
Yeah, I definitely was not prepared emotionally for that. I had no idea. I'd never heard of his name's Scott Harrison. I've never heard of him before Inbound. And then I believe that was the only keynote we attended as well. And I just like didn't know what to expect. But yeah, we were like ugly crying at the end of that. But he's the perfect example of making an awesome comeback. So a little backstory, this guy was a club promoter in New York. He grew up in a very strict religious household. And basically, once he got to college, he completely rebelled and just built this awful reputation of just, drugs, alcohol, rock and roll.
Well, he was a club promoter, right? So like his job
promoter
was to push drugs and alcohol.
Exactly. It was a lifestyle that he was getting paid. He was literally getting paid to drink Budweiser in clubs and like shut the place down, get as many people to attend. So, he kind of built his image around that type of career and lifestyle. And so growing up in a religious household, he had all these signs happen. I'm actually reading his book right now called Thirst. Shout out to Remington for hooking it up with his book. I'm still reading it, but this has his whole story in it, things that he hasn't even talked about at Inbound. But basically, he realizes that he needs to make a complete 360 change and wanted to start serving and getting into some charity work. And he realized that he applied to so many different places around the world to try and help serve, and no one would accept him. So there was only one place, and it took him months to even hear back.
And didn't he have to pay them?
Yeah.
Right? Like he'd applied to all these places and they were like, no, we don't want your image associated with our, Good Samaritan organization. Exactly. And they were like, if you pay us money, you can come.
Right. I think he was paying them $500 a month.
Right. And he sold all his possessions and was like, fine, here you go.
Yeah. So he was like, wow, this couldn't be more opposite than the lifestyle he was living, getting paid to just be a savage and like get drunk and high and just live this crazy lifestyle. So he was paying this one company, the only one that would accept him, in this small town. Where was it? It was like in Africa.
Like not Cape Town. That's South Africa. I don't remember the location, but it was a boat. He lived on a boat off the coast of Africa.
And so basically he helped out. His job was to take photos of everything. And so a lot of people were coming in, and he was helping out at this hospital, right?
Right.
And this was taking place at like a football field or type of stadium. And people would travel days to get there just to maybe be seen. So it wasn't even guaranteed that these people who walk there for days would even be treated.
And they were treating like facial tumors and like people were going to die if they didn't get the treatment that these doctors were going to be performing at no cost, these procedures. like Courtney said, people were walking forever for the hope that they would be seen by a doctor, and he was photographing all of this.
Exactly. And so while he was there, he noticed a huge issue that was probably the main cause of a lot of these health problems. And the issue was that people there were drinking like the dirtiest water, like to the point where you could not even see a reflection. And man, the stories he told like were unbelievable. Like people traveling days to fill up their jar with this water that's killing them. Like, and so basically what he did was he took all that information back home with him, and he started charity water to raise money so that they could install a fountain and provide clean water for these people. I mean, he literally witnessed this little boy drink water, vomit on himself, and continue to drink the water. Like, that's how unhealthy the water quality was. So after, taking all those photos and experiencing that firsthand, he realized that this was an issue that he was passionate about and wanted to solve. And so then he came up with charity water, which has really exploded, and he's gotten a lot of help and support. And, like any business has its downfalls and challenges, and, he almost failed a few times, but with, it did end up helping him that he had such a large network from his previous job, but just a total 360 of rebuilding his image. And now he just like completely looked back on that old lifestyle. And now his, when you think of Scott Harrison, you don't really associate him with that crazy party. Like when you hear his name, you think of charity water.
Yeah.
So, and of course that's not something that happened overnight. It took a huge life change and commitment and so much effort and experiencing something so wild that, is so life-changing and eye-opening. Like it's all it takes to like want to rebrand yourself.
Yep. Yeah. He was moved, like passionately moved to make a difference in this world. And he's doing that like one fountain at a time, right? And the geysers, like they're like digging on site. I think it's really cool too, because now he's trying to give back to those communities, and he's training local individuals to be like the diggers and the men and women who are working on getting clean water in their community. Like he's funding it, but he's showing them how to do it. So he's not only giving them clean water, but he's giving them an opportunity to better themselves as well through financial freedom. So it's like super amazing. And like that, it's like the comeback kid story of all time.
Yeah.
Very inspiring.
You ever have a chance to like see him speak, I highly recommend it. I've never been so moved. I was joking that like if he had passed around a basket of collections, I would have emptied out my wallet for him and given him like all of my blank checks to do whatever he, like it is so moving listening to him speak. And I think in this country, we take for granted clean water and the accessibility to it. And it's something that like I no longer take for granted and think about very rarely. Like, those, like he was talking about it. How many of you have like this much water left in your water bottle? You're just going to chuck it in the trash before you leave. Like,
or leave your sink on when you're brushing your teeth.
Oh my God.
The day before I heard him speak, I did that. And I was like, wow, I feel like such a piece of crap, like wasting that. But, so I highly recommend this book. If you haven't read it yet, I'll leave a link in the description. So all proceeds go to charity water. So it's a good way to learn more about Scott and his journey and his charity while supporting it at the same time.
Absolutely. Awesome. And then Audrey, you and I were chatting last night. I mean, you have some really great examples of some comeback moments.
Yeah, and you know what? This conversation actually like sparked something else in me, like about rebranding your personal image. I used to be like the biggest Mandy Moore fan, like when she was a singer, and she literally like transformed.
Yes.
People don't even think of her as a singer anymore.
Nope.
You know? She's 100% an actress now.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I brought that up is because I was thinking about a personal brand that failed that was a singer. And I think we all probably remember the Mariah Carey fail of 2017 at the New Year's Eve, whatever it is, with Ryan Seacrest, the ball drop.
And she learned the hell out of that.
Like she forgot the words pretty much, right?
And then just stopped singing.
So She said she couldn't hear it. Ryan Seacrest said she could hear it. And then I guess there was a monitor behind it. But the whole point is that her vocal cords can't get to the range they got to in 1996 when she sang that song.
Right.
Like, she can't get there anymore. So when I saw that, I was like, you know what? She's probably just done. We all hear these diva stories of her, how she has to have a fan around her all the time and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. But then she's put out a whole new album, or at least 4 or 5 songs in 2018. And I know Jackie, we're both the 5th and 6th share of The Voice. So that I saw her on there and she killed it. And I saw an article afterwards that all of the coaches were people give her this diva image, but she was so nice, so encouraging. She did work on all of the whoever they are participants beforehand. Mm-hmm. And she, knew her stuff going in. And I thought that was really cool because maybe she was a diva and that moment humbled her. And so she wanted to put on a new image of not being that way, because it's not like she's getting any younger, Right.
Mm-hmm. And I think we have to give ourselves the grace to learn from our mistakes. And
she's so iconic. She is awesome. She's amazing. Yeah.
She surpasses generations because All I Want for Christmas is my jam. And I'm passing that down now to my daughter. When that song comes on, she knows that it's our jam.
It's the best Christmas song.
Right. That song came out a long time ago. So I think that she has the ability to transcend generations with her music. But I also think Audrey, you said that she had a moment and reel it in. You got to reel it in.
Another singer that comes to mind is Britney Spears.
That's what we were talking about last night.
Yeah.
But don't tell me none of you had a moment where you're I'm going to shave my head and I'm going to take a bat to it. Because I've had that moment.
I do that thing where I'm it's not that bad. I'm not going to go shave my head. I say that to myself often.
And the time she got out of the car and wasn't wearing any underwear. And she showed everyone her Britney.
Yeah.
Yeah, we refer to that regularly in my house. Don't go showing everybody your Britney. And it's unfortunate that her name can become, what is that, an adjective, I suppose? But she did come back, and she is killing it in Vegas right now.
Yeah, when I first heard she was going out there, I was oh God, this is going to be a train wreck. But it wasn't. I mean, she's doing so well.
I'm not sure she came back 100% though. I feel she lost a little bit of her street cred.
Yeah.
Well, I keep seeing memes saying the older I get, the more I understand.
Yes, I mean it's true.
Yes, I see that too.
I'm telling you girls, there have been days where I threaten others don't make me shave my head. Don't put me in that position. You're doing that.
I'm excited for later or next season, I guess. I'm excited to talk about company brands that have failed and then came back, because there's so many on that level too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Jen, did you have, I think you were going to talk tips for us, or did you have another brand fail that you wanted to bring up?
I have a smaller, shorter brand fail. It's a little bit more in the past, but I think it, I don't know. I think it complements this. Compliment isn't the word. It's a little opposite than this. So, something that I think of is brands that are a little bit more bold that have fails. So we've all seen Wendy's, for example, and their clever, witty Twitter spats that they have with people that we laugh back and forth about. But I don't know if you ladies remember back in 2017 when they had their, what was the campaign called? The Fresh Never Frozen meat campaign. They had been on a little spat with the Twitter user back and forth, and they had posted that Pepe the Frog meme, the green frog meme. They posted some sort of meme, and there was this huge backlash because the person managing the Twitter account didn't realize that although this was a popular meme, Pepe had a lot of white supremacist connotations around it.
Oh, Lord.
And even though they posted this thing to be playful, they were getting a lot of backlash in regards to that because they posted this meme that's often associated with a certain kind of humor and language, that people were thinking that, Wendy's was racist.
Right.
Yeah, that's dangerous territory.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember that. That guy that person got fired immediately, didn't they?
I don't remember if they did, but I know they tried taking it down quickly, but a lot of people had already screenshotted it and it was splashed all across the internet. So I guess what I wanted to take away from that, like the lesson learned from that is, if you have a more playful brand or something like that, you have to be very cautious of the way that you're utilizing pop culture references, because they take on so many different connotations and elements that you might not even realize. And while you're trying to maintain that humor in your brand, you could unintentionally be marring your reputation.
For sure. Yeah. You have to be really careful.
Yeah. How many times do you get like, I don't know, in your email, like, I listen to Refinery 29 all the time, and you'll always hear of a celebrity being like, oh, this person is apologizing for this, because they think they're being funny, but it's not funny.
Right.
Right.
To heart.
Well, and so, but you know, as a devil's advocate, I think sometimes as a society, we're getting a little too sensitive as well.
Absolutely.
And like, people have way too much to say. And like, you know, if you don't have anything nice to say, you shouldn't say anything at all. I know all your mamas taught you that a long time ago. But like, I think that like it is not practiced on social media, first of all. And second of all, I think that like, not everything's that serious, man. It's just not. And like, I get being offended and you're allowed to feel the way you feel, but I think that sometimes you have to be careful what you start apologizing for and how often you do it. Because if you make it a habit, then there's going to be no fine line between your humor versus who you are. I almost care more for people who are unapologetically unapologetic. Like, I am not apologizing because I'm not sorry. And if you don't like my humor, stop following me.
Mm-hmm.
I follow a few like mom and dad like Instagram blog accounts. He's called Dad and Buried, and he's hysterical. And he regularly will be like, I takes up a screenshot. Hey, I got a hate message last night, and I just asked him politely to unfollow me because I'm not going to apologize for what I said. I believe it. This is my account. If you don't like it, you can move on. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's a little bit of that going on as well with a lot of celebrities, but it just goes to show that like you can't please, what is that? You can't please everyone. Today's not your day. Tomorrow doesn't look good either. Something like that. I mean, you're not going to think everyone is funny. And I think you need to, as a brand, when you do make a mistake, and I think we'll go into this now, some tips you can do to bring yourself back from the gutter. I'll just share a few things that I found. And then if anyone else has anything, and some of it we already kind of chatted about, but things like don't dwell in the past. So if you made the mistake, like, you don't hear Martha talking about going to jail. She's not going to bring that up. So don't you bring up whatever misstep that you took in the past. Owning up to what happened. So again, saying like, yeah, that happened, but we're just going to push forward. And just like Martha, don't lose momentum. Keep moving forward. Keep going.
I think another thing that goes hand in hand with that, Jackie, sorry to interrupt, but not blaming others either. I feel like a big thing is people try to shovel the blame onto someone else instead of accepting or taking it. And I don't know, I just think that goes hand in hand of like apologize but don't cast shade on other people, like own up to it.
I also think one thing I saw in my research was like, they said, make the phone call. Like, there's no need to put and splash your shit across national news or even on Instagram. Like, if you've offended someone or something happened, like, there's no shame in taking it offline and making up for that privately. Everything doesn't have to be in front of the world. And I think sometimes that's a misstep, is that you just keep like apologizing. Like, just directly go to the person or whoever that you've offended. Like Jen said, like, don't make excuses. And all these things are the same thing, like, own your mess, like all of those things. It's really about like being authentic, take the appropriate steps if you did do something wrong to address it, and really just press on and move forward. And I think that there are a lot of things you can come back from. And I don't think that any of the brands or the people we mentioned today, you know, have faltered in any way financially after these mistakes. They've only made gains. I mean, like, look at the Kardashians. How many times have those girls had to apologize in real life or on social media? All the family obligations.
I was thinking about them.
Like, everything that they have gone through, they are still millionaires and they still kill it and have many, many people who adore them. So just keep like doing you out there and press on. All right, well, that's going to come to a close of season 1. We have had a really amazing time sharing our thoughts with all of you out there, and I hope you've enjoyed listening. Stay tuned for season 2. We're coming back bigger and badder than ever. But for our final hot sauce packet of season 1, we're going to be giving it to our amazing behind-the-scene team. So many people at Impulse Creative have gotten together to make this happen on nights and weekends and overtime. And we're just so thankful to have such an amazing team who believes in us, who is passionate about the things that we're passionate about, and is giving us the space and the freedom to like do us. So we just want to say thank you to Remington and the Impulse team. You guys are the ultimate hot sauce packets in our eyes. And we're so excited for season 2. So join us in a few weeks when we're going to take a minute, regroup, line a lot of really cool stuff up for season 2. More interviews, like more robust conversation. And if you have any ideas for us or things you want us to talk about or address, leave it in the comments and share with us with all of your friends.
Sadly, that'll do it for this week's episode of Maiden Voyage. We'd like to thank you, our amazing listeners, because, let's face it, lady life is hard. It's incredible how much we accomplish every day, and we all deserve awards just for existing. If you're watching the show, make sure that you subscribe, click on that thing for instant notifications, speak your mind in the comments, and share us with your fellow Voyagers.